All right, so we should have all been up to this point here where we had our walls drawn in from last week. We put our internal walls in, and what we're going to go on to now is adding the roof coverings and the floors. Right. Again, like when we started last week, it's a lot of it's about the settings as opposed to the drawing. The drawing's actually really quick. So the first thing we want to do is we want to remember how last week we set up a face and we generated our walls from the face. We're going to do that a couple of times tonight, but it's a little bit easier this time. We can still draw them in if we want to, but what we can do, we're going to click on any external wall. Has to be an external wall. You're going to right click on that external wall. And when you hover over the walls, you'll see wall operations, and then it will let you select similar type in model. So when you click that, you should see that it will highlight all the external walls. Go ahead and do that. Just give us a bit of a thumbs up when you got it done. Hopefully my voice is going to hold out for this. We'll see how we go. All right, so that was click on any external wall, right click on it, and go to the hover over the wall tools, wall operations tool, and then select similar type. And it should highlight all the external walls. Right, so from there, what we can then do is if we right click on any of those external walls, and you've got that generate tool sitting in there. When you right click on it, and we're going to generate a face at the top of the walls. And it's going to fill that face in for us. I'll go ahead and do that. So that was just right click on one of your walls, go to the generate tool and generate face at the top of the wall. If you accidentally generate one at the bottom, at the base of the wall, don't worry. We're going to use that later on to make the floors. Right, now the one bit we need to do with the roof is we've got the veranda area out here where we'll get to the beam tool later and we can actually draw the beam in across there using the beam tool. But for the minute, we're just going to use the standard SketchUp tools and we're going to draw a line across there. Now, there is a little glitch with this. Because we traced our building the other day, and if we didn't type our measurements in, there might be, you'll see if yep, no worries, we can do that. So we click on one wall, Daniel, you right click on it, hover over the wall tools, hover over wall operations, and then go down to select similar construction type in model. Click on that and it should highlight all the external walls. Then you right click on an external wall again, and there will be a generate tool there, and you generate face at the top of the wall. So it's just a right click on the external wall. Right, so now I'm just gonna, you'll see here, if I click on the corner of this wall, and I come across, now remember our red line means that we're exactly perpendicular. All right, you must have drawn them in individually, did you, Zach? You didn't use the generate from base? Right. In any case, mate, if you just want to draw around the top, so if you basically just trace around the top plates, making sure you're always on that red and green axis, and or you can use the big square tool and then just delete the joins out, and you'll end up with the same thing for the minute. You basically just want to get that face. Right. So you can see if we zoom right in on the generate tool, my red line is actually just a few millimeters off where it should be. And that's because we just traced the plan the other night, right? It's not really neither here nor there with what we do for the pricing and estimating, but it will give you, the computer will bring a glitch in where it's going to throw another valley in there because it thinks they don't line up and it's trying to make it merge. So all we want to do is just, when we're drawing this in, I've clicked on the far corner over there. So I've got this, the width of this wall, and I'm going to come across here all the way to the end. And I'm going to zoom right in so that I want to get it. See how I've got the red line there now on the edge? And when I click it there, that's now there in here. So I can come back in. Just over here. And I want to get rid of, or not highlight that section. So I'm going to highlight over here. And I'm going to highlight this one. All right, so now I've got that whole area highlighted. All right, now technically speaking, if you watch their videos, we should be able to generate a roof right here, right now. I have found, unless you've got a perfect square, it kind of freaks out a little bit. So we're going to throw a little extra step in that just makes it work perfectly for us. Now, basically what I can do is I've got the move tool, which is the 4 arrows pointing in different directions. And realistically, I can click anywhere on this drawing. And I'm going to pull up because I want to be on, see, I'm on the green axis, but I want to be on the blue axis. All right. So on the blue axis means I'm going straight up in the air. And if I type in 1 meter, so you can see bottom right corner, I've typed in 1 meter. What it means is I've basically just lifted that entire roof up 1 meter. Right. And what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to get these other extra little lines from where we added the veranda in, and I'm just going to delete them out so that when I highlight it, I've got this one big face. If you hold the shift key down and click in one of the other areas, Josh. So as you're clicking, just hold the shift key down. All right, I'll let everybody catch up to that point. Yeah. So as I said, you could even just go around, come up 1 meter and trace this out and draw a great big square. All we're after is this one big face edge. And it just helps if you know it's exactly 1 meter. You could go 2 meters up. It doesn't matter. We're just offsetting it and we're going to drag it down after it's drawn. Yep. So all it is, it's this move tool. And you can click on that. Now you can click anywhere on the drawing. It doesn't matter, just on the highlighted section. And then when you pull up, you'll see that you get it and it's telling me it's on the blue axis. Once it's done that, I can just type 1 meter in or 1000, press enter, and it's going to snap it 1 meter up. Right. So if it's locking to one of the other axes, you can press the arrow keys and it's going to move around for you. So I'm just scrolling through the down arrow key there and it's moving around the different axes. Any of the arrow keys will work, but. And once you get on the blue axis, type in the 1 meter and you should be good. All right, just give us the thumbs up when you've got that far, guys, just so I know where I won't leave anyone behind. All right, so Daniel and Zach, how are you guys going? You caught up to that point? Yep, you're good, Zach. Cool. Right, all right. So once we've got that face, we've got the face selected, all we're going to do is right click on it and we've got the roof tool down in there and it's going to say create roof. We click on create roof and this is again where it's going to bring us up all those options that we want to go through and save. So yours will probably default to say 25 degrees. So set it to the pitch of the roof. You can select whether you want metal, concrete, terracotta, or slate and shingles. Do you want to include the fascia? So we're going to say yes. Do you want the fascia plumb or on the rake? So we'll say plumb. 180 is our standard fascia. We've got flat boxed eaves on this house, so we'll leave them at that. They should be 600 mil wide. This is taken from the frame, so yours might default to 450. Remember, we're working from the frame, so you'll need to set that out to 600. Your quarter gutter, 125 is a pretty standard gutter for New South Wales, and you've probably got to tick the include gutter box on, the include capping. I always like to include the ceiling. You can draw the ceiling in later if you want. I just find it's easier to do it there. Are you going to have ceiling insulation? If so, turn that on. And we will have sarking on it, so we turn that on as well. When they say include sheathing, they mean basically plywood bracing. So don't worry about ticking that on. But your rafter height is probably defaulted to 70 mil, so make sure you set that up to 90. And your battens are probably set to 35 mil. So if you had a metal roof, you leave it at 35. We're going to set it to 30 because we've got the tile battens. Right, then we come down and we start to set all of our materials we want. I'm just going with the first one in the list, which is the designer limestone. And for the valley iron and stuff, I'm just going to pick the same ironstone. All right, our eave soffit, just use the default soffit lining. Our ceiling will be super seal. Insulation, I'm just going to use the default. Waterproof sarking, of course, we'll just use the default again. You can pick your gable cladding. If you've got a gable in here, we don't have a gable in here yet, so we won't worry about that for the minute. And then your valley timber. What do you want your valleys made out of? Once you've done that, just click submit. And it will draw a roof for you. All right, so everyone get that far, then give us a thumbs up once you've got that drawn in. Then we'll show you how to move it back down. By doing that, you'll see if I zoom around, I have a look underneath, you can see that we can see my eaves lining in. We can see my ceiling right through the whole house. All right, so that means all that's already included in our estimating. And if we went over to the estimated chart, we'd actually be able to see how much ceiling, plaster, etc. we've got through the house. Right, and what the square meters of tiles are, etc. And you can see it's drawing our valleys in, and we've got our gutters and our fascias drawn in there. And just give us a thumbs up when you got that roof drawn. I'll sing you out if you need me to go over a point again. Remember to give us a thumbs up, guys, when you got that roof generated. If you're stuck on something, sing out. You must have highlighted the underside of it, Daniel. So SketchUp, it doesn't see up from down. It's probably just that you've had, I'm not even sure if I can get to it, but where my diaphragm is drawn through there, you've probably had the bottom side highlighted as well. So it's drawn a roof top and bottom. You can just click on that roof, highlight it, and click delete. It should disappear. Okay, that's a new one. Just check and make sure you've just got one side of that highlighted and just regenerate it again. I think, Daniel, you might have two diaphragms drawn in there. When you've gone to move it, the move tool is also the copy tool. So I think you might have hit it, pressed control, and created a second highlighted area there. Cool. Right. So again, what we want to do is highlight that roof again, and we can grab the move tool and click anywhere on it. We're going to drag it down so that we're on the blue axis. And we're going to type that 1 meter in again. And then our roof is moved down into the correct place. And I can delete that. Diaphragm or face out of the drawing. Just go around deleting all the edges out. Remember, if you delete something and you go, oh, I shouldn't have done that, just hit Control Z and it'll draw it back in again. Right, so your additional valley, Daniel, is just when you drew the house down the bottom, you've got something just not quite lining up. So when you later on just go and draw that whole square again and just bring a line right across, particularly this edge, because it's trying to, something's not quite line up. It might only be 5 mil, maybe even a mil, and it's saying, right, there's a step here, I've got to put a valley in. So that's what that'll be. Right. Now the next bit we want to do, if you click and highlight the roof, because we've got a gable over this wall here. So if we right click on that now and we hover over the roof tool, we can see that we've got the add Dutch gable multi-pitch. So, or edit, add pitch roof, add gable. So we just want to add the gable for this one. And we click on that, it's going to highlight, bring up and sort of bring red on all the roofs. Now, the roof side we click on here is where we're telling it that we want it to draw a gable. So that was a right clicked on the roof. I went to the roof tool. I went add gable, and then it's going to highlight the roof red. And I'm going to pick the side here that I want the gable to go on. And it should open up a dialog box. Now, all you really want, the pitch means, hey, what's the wall at? Right. And your wall is actually at 90 degrees. Right. What's your overhang of your gable? I think ours is actually 300 on this. Do you want to include the fascia and barge? Do you want to infill the gable? Right, we've got all those ticked on. We click submit and it draws a gable in there for us. Now you can see it has actually drawn the weatherboards in there. We probably should have set a 20 mil offset on those to bring them out in front of the wall. Or we can actually edit the wall later on and make that one wall a gable, set the pitch and draw the bricks in, depending on what we wanted to do. Everyone gets up to that point, and then we're going to go onto the floor quickly, which is basically exactly the same thing at the other side of the house. Remember, if you want to see it off, we've already generated our faces, so I can just go to the structure tool, etc. And it is glitchy on you a little bit, so that should be roof off, but it's not. We can always come back and just regenerate the scenes. Then when we go to the roof off tool, it actually works the way it should and takes the roof off. Now, the reason I do that is I find the roof off view really handy for the next step, basically because it gets rid of the floor plan. And but we're going to go through a lot of those steps we just did again to generate the floor. Right, we're going to highlight all the external walls again by the wall operations. And we're going to, when this time, instead of generate, we're going to generate the face at the base of the walls. How to turn the roof off. So it's just one of your tabs up the top, Josh. So when we generated all those views last week, you can just click on the roof off tab. And if it didn't work, just you've got the scene tool there, which is the picture of the camera, and you can just click on that again and just generate the standard views. Right. Once I got down, you'll see that your floor is already highlighted. So we can just right click on that. And we're going to go down to slab and create slab. Now, what do we want to do? We want to do it below that face. So you could generate below or above, depending on where it is. Right. Our slab, pretty sure it's 150 mil on this job. We want to, we'll include the reinforcement. So you can either include the reinforcement or not include it. That's going to depend on how you're doing your pricing. We're going to throw 2 layers of mesh in there. All right. Now you can just draw the footing only. We don't want that for this one. Now, if we are including a footing, all right, and that would include our edge beam. All right, I can't quite remember what our edge beam was for this one. So I'm just going to say it was 300 mil wide. Now, if you have a look at our footing depth, that is the depth from the bottom of the step. All right, so where we've got our step down for our slab. So I think we had 500 mil less than 172 for the step down, which is a 2-course step. Should leave us with 328. All right, what is our recess ledge? That is, of course, going to be 150, including our cavity. What's our recess depth? That's going to be 172 to allow for our 2-course step down. We're going to have some reinforcement in the bottom of that. And if we did have piers under the footing, we could just tick that box, and then it's going to include, so if you had a pier and beam design, you could go around and include the piers in. What the hell, I'm going to include some piers in this one, just to show you. All right, what's going to go on? We've got concrete. How are you going to finish the concrete? So is it polished? We're just going to have it like that. What type of mesh have you got? And do you have polyethylene, etc. under it? What are you using? Maybe using termite barrier. Okay, we'll just leave it as polyethylene. When we click submit, and that's pretty much it. It's just drawn our flooring. We can see we've got our concrete slab through there. We've got our edge beams with our piers all the way around the outside. Now we can draw extra footings in through the middle if we had slab thickenings, etc., that we wanted to draw in. We just go in and use the you can either use the beam tool or in the flooring tool, they actually have a strip footing tool. So you could go in and add extra footings in. And we go back to, oh, that's about as far as we're going for tonight. So we've now got our concrete slab drawn in with edge beams. We've got our roof all through the house. Um, I think it was default. I left it at the default 60 mil, but you could set it to 30 if you wanted. So you can see pretty much right now we've got a lot of the house drawn. We've got the slabs all in. We've got our plasterboard, our cornice, our skirtings. As we go to next week, we're going to start to add all the windows in. And the software will actually draw in all the lintels and studs and throw the windows in, etc. So I'm just going to stop that recording there.